what is the Chevening Scholarship?
The UK government's flagship scholarship program.
Now let's talk about the application process.
Conditional or unconditional offers.
What about the number of scholarships awarded each year?
We have selected 15 scholars and 1 fellow.
What are some of the opportunities available for the Chevening alumni?
Well, no one is guaranteed to receive their visa.
What an ideal candidate's profile looks like?
Knows exactly what they are going to study in the UK and knows exactly what they want to do with that degree after coming back.
Can you tell me what advice do you have for potential Chevening applicants? Hi everyone, today we're sitting down with the Chevening Scholarship Program Officer here at the British Embassy in Tashkent. Thank you for joining us, Shirin.
Thank you, Timur.
Yes, so I'd like to start by asking you, what is the Chevening Scholarship and what is its mission?
Thank you very much. So Chevening Scholarship Program, Chevening Scholarship and Fellowship Program is the UK government's flagship scholarship program that allows leaders and decision makers from across the world to come and study at the leading UK universities for their master's degree. And it enables them to then go back to their communities and start creating positive impacts into their professions, neighborhoods, communities, countries.
And why does the UK government, fund that?
It's of course to develop a future leaders, so this global network of future leaders, whether it's in arts or journalism or governance or economy. Of course, they can come and enjoy excellent world-class education in the UK. So it brings positive change through the education.
Can you tell me what exactly is covered?
So Chevening scholarships cover the entire tuition fee for 1 year taught master's degree program at any university in the UK of their choice. It also provides flight tickets to the UK and to Uzbekistan after they complete their studies. And also they pay monthly stipend to support their living expenses.
Oh, I see. So, but the master's degree has to be only 1 year, right?
Yes, most of the UK universities, unlike from other universities from in other countries, they offer 1 year taught master's degree programs, which I guess is a great opportunity to go and really have this 1 year of intense studying and also cultural exposure in the UK, and also come back with a degree.
Yeah, of course. Now let's talk about the eligibility criteria. Not everyone can apply, right? So who can apply?
So to be eligible to apply for the scholarship, one has to have their bachelor's degree at the time of application. They also need to have at least 2 years of professional working experience. They also need to be a citizen of the eligible country. So we have over 160 countries, the citizens of which can apply for the Chevening, and of course in our case it's Uzbekistan. And also they need to intend to come back after completion of their studies, come back to Uzbekistan and apply their newly gained knowledge and skills in their professions and stay here for at least 2 years.
I see. And I believe the Chevening application has closed for this year, right?
Yes. So the Chevening applications usually open in the beginning of August of each year, and they run for 3 months and ends in the early November of each year. So for the academic year of 2025-26, the application intake is currently closed, but the applicants can prepare their portfolio and applications from now and consider applying for next year.
Yeah. And can you tell me how many applications you guys have received this year?
Actually, I cannot give the exact numbers, but I guess this will be enough to say we haven't quite reached thousands, so it's in hundreds. So we receive hundreds of eligible applications for Uzbekistan, and only 1 or 2% of them then are selected to go and study with the Chevening Scholarship Program. So it's very competitive and very prestigious program.
I see. And what percentage goes into the second stage?
So after they submit their initial application, I would say around 10 or 15% are selected from this batch of applications to come and sit for the interview stage, which is the second stage of selection process.
I see. And what about the number of scholarships awarded each year? Is it the same every year, or what's the average?
So our usual allocation for Uzbekistan is from 6 to 10. It really depends every year. I would say in average we send 8 scholars every year, but for this year exceptionally we have selected 15 scholars and 1 fellow, and all of them are now in the UK and already started their studies.
I see. Now let's talk about the application process. As far as I know, there are 2 stages, right? To the application. Can you tell us what are the components of the first and second stage?
So when we say the application intake is now open in early August, we want the applicants to fill out the basic information about themselves, give the background of their work experience, and also they will need to fill out 4 essays, 500 words each, on the topics of leadership and influencing. Next essay is on relationship building or networking, so to say. Third essay should focus on why specifically they are choosing to study in the UK. And their fourth essay will focus on their career plans. So, and also during the application process, they need to be able to select and identify which 3 university courses they are considering applying through this Chevening Scholarship program. So what I usually tell applicants is that they need to start their research much earlier, not to wait the opening of the application intake. So because UK has vast variety of universities and courses they offer, so it really takes time to sit down and select which university, which courses in which cities throughout the UK fits their career aspirations the most and can benefit them the most. So it really takes time, so I would encourage everyone to start early research on this.
And so basically students first apply to Chevening and list the universities that they want to go to, and then they apply to universities, right, separately?
Yes, exactly. So at the time of application to Chevening, applicants do not need to hold conditional or unconditional offers from the universities. We ask them to provide at least 1 unconditional offer by the global deadline of the mid-July of following year. So and it should come from one of the 3 listed universities that they indicate on their applications. So at the time of application itself, they can only focus on writing quality essays and filling out the application form and indicating the 3 universities. And they can start applying to individual university at a later stage, I would say. And usually I would say if they really want to be sure before applying to the universities, I usually tell them to wait until early February when they will learn whether they are successful and they are selected for the second stage of the selection process, which is interview. So if they get the email saying they are invited to the interview, then I usually say it's the best time to start applying for the universities. And the UK universities are usually quick to get back to them, and they can proceed with uploading necessary documents afterwards.
I see. And what does the second stage look like? You said it's an interview. Is it just an interview?
Yes. So after they are successful from the application itself, and if they are invited to the interview, which is also a great achievement in itself, because as I mentioned, only around 10, 12, 15% maximum people out of the entire pool of applicants make it to the interview stage. So if they're successful, they are invited to the interviews, and recently we've been conducting our interviews online to enable those who are applying from farther regions in Uzbekistan who might have harder time to travel to Tashkent, so that they can also participate. So we conduct online interviews, and there are at least 3 people on the panel. On the interview panel, and basically interview usually consists of very similar questions that they've already seen on their applications. So, and I would say usually that the interview stage is a great chance for applicants to really shine through. It's their chance to really elaborate on their answers that they give on the application essays. And quite honestly, interviews is a great way for us to see if how well the applicant matches the description of themselves that they give on their essays. So if how truthful they were, whether they actually, you know, possess this language skills, great potential leadership skills. So it's a great way to see them and to get to know them on a more personal level.
And could you tell me what exactly is tested during the interview?
So as I mentioned, we usually have 4 standard questions on our topics that I mentioned earlier, which is on leadership, relationship building or networking, studying in the UK, and on career plans. And at any point, any of the panel members may ask any other probing questions to get more concrete idea of their response. So we might have additional questions. And the interviews usually last from 30 to 40 minutes.
I see. And
it's very brief.
Yeah, I would say it's not brief, you know. Well, can you tell me what personal qualities do you guys look for in an interview exactly? So like we know that generally Chevening has its own mission and values, right? But what exactly do you test during the interview after they've been selected for the second stage?
Well, in a nutshell, I would say Chevening is a scholarship for leaders, period. It's a scholarship for decision makers, change makers, people who think outside the box and who possess this leadership and influencing qualities, whether it's with their communities or professional fields. We see how well the candidate matches these qualities. And it's usually tricky because they have a tough job of describing themselves and their career plans, I would say, in a way to create a balance between ambition and step-by-step concrete plans of how they want to achieve that. So if they only have ambition but no clarity or no realistic steps, it's usually very poor application or poor presentation. But they only have clarity of the next steps but no really ambition. They just want to stay as a middle manager, so to say. That would also not be an excellent presentation at the interview. So it's their job to find and really convince us that they know how to go to the top of the level in their respective fields, and also they know how to achieve that.
And when one does the research on Chevening, the word leadership comes up a lot, right? Also, you talked about leadership potential. Can you tell me, what do you mean when you say leadership potential?
So as I mentioned, Chevening is for exceptional leaders across the globe, and usually it becomes quite apparent in their leadership essay examples. Strong leadership essay usually contains concrete examples of how they displayed this in their professional fields. And you know, leadership actually looks very different for a variety of professions. So for example, leadership qualities and the example of leadership may look different for someone from education sector, working as a teacher, professor, than compared to someone who is coming from like public sector or like banking sector, where there's quite a hierarchical order and clear subordination. So it looks different for everyone, and the task for a candidate is actually to show how they showed leadership in their own profession. And the more concrete examples that they give, the better, if they can avoid just giving descriptions of what leadership means to them, or quoting someone famous from the past. It's better to make it personal, make it about themselves. And regarding potential, this comes evidence in their career aspiration essays. So we see and judge whether they have a clear idea of why they need the scholarship, why they need education and master's degree diploma from the UK, and what exactly they want to do with it after they come back. So of course we cannot expect for someone to know exactly what they will be doing, let's say after 10 years, but they should have clarity in where they are headed in general terms. And of course they need to have much clarity in regards to what they're planning to do, what will the immediate output of their education will be after they come back. So this also shows a leadership potential, and this tells us whether the person has thought through this process, knows exactly what they are going to study in the UK, and knows exactly what they want to do with that degree after coming back.
I see. And can you tell me what are some of the most common mistakes, let's say, that applicants make during the application process?
Yes, so I'm in my role for almost 4 years now, and I've seen different types of mistakes and maybe omissions people tend to make in their application process. So if I start with the application itself and the essays, as I mentioned earlier, the more concrete examples, the better. So I would really encourage people to avoid using lots of just
general
wasting,
terms.
General terms, exactly. I've seen lots of people, some people actually dedicating an entire paragraph for the philosophy of what leadership means to them. We don't need that. So the more concrete examples they can provide, the better for both leadership and networking essays. Also, I would tell them to really think through about the Chevening Alumni Network and how they want to use it in their networking and relationship building essay example. Because Chevening really takes pride in its vast alumni network. It's a global community of change makers, decision makers, and I guess this year they are counting almost 60,000 of them worldwide. In Uzbekistan, for example, we have almost 300 Chevening alumni.
300?
Yes, almost 300 Chevening alumni, because Chevening has been around for 30 years, since 1994 in Uzbekistan, and this year we celebrated 30 years of its anniversary. So really, it's always great if they've thought through how exactly they want to utilize this vast network of professionals and leaders, and how this can help them to achieve next stages of achievements in their career. And they can make a mention of this in their relationship building essays. Regarding a third essay, which is on studying in the UK, I usually tell them to make it really personal and really dedicated, customized for the UK experience.
And what do you mean by customized?
Customized, yes. So let me elaborate. So I've come across some of the essays with very generic descriptions of the education abroad, for example. And if you remove the word UK and replace it with the USA, for example, or Germany, the meaning really doesn't change.
Yeah.
So if it's very generic with lots of cliches, it really scores quite poorly on the scale. So really make it about the UK. Dedicate some time to do research about the culture, universities. Some of the top applicants even mention the names of the professors and faculty members at the university that they want to work with, or who authored some of the prominent textbooks that they used in their fields. So that means that person has done their homework, they've researched. So that means it's quite a tailored answer to the why study in the UK question. And for career plan essay, I would, some of the common mistakes is that, as I mentioned, either very ambitious and vague without concrete idea of what they're planning to do, or just not ambitious enough, I would say. Yeah. And maybe regarding some of the mistakes during the interview, and it might be quite embarrassing for someone to have written a stark, brilliant essay and come to the interview where we see that they cannot even connect two words in English. So
Does that happen often?
not often, but it did happen. So, writing, that's why we have 2 stages of selection, so that this kind of cases can, we can see if person is authentic and has integrity in their application. So I would say rely on your experience, really work on your speaking and English skills, be truthful, elaborate on the answers, so that's their chance to shine, and let us know what kind of great works that they've already done and they're planning to do with their education. Of course, I always tell them, reach out, be proactive, reach out to current alumni, current scholars who are in the UK. We'll always share their success stories on our social media platforms. And they're always happy to provide piece of advice and consult them when needed.
Yeah, so you mentioned the alumni network, and I guess that leads me to my next question. Can you tell me what are some of the opportunities available for the Chevening alumni?
Thank you for the question. And yes, we take special pride in our vast alumni network. This is a group of excellent, brilliant professionals and change makers, both in Uzbekistan and across the globe. And as I mentioned, we have almost 300 alumni in Uzbekistan and 60,000 globally. And of course, after they complete their studies and upon their return, we organize a special event called a welcome home event for them. And it's their way to smoothly transit to the alumni community. And we invite our past alumni to offer support, to help them adjust to the life back in Uzbekistan, and just to create this sense of community for them. But besides that, we also are keen to keep in touch with our alumni, so we always involve them in our activities, embassy-led events, and also we have separate events dedicated just for their networking and professional engagements throughout the year. And moreover, another way that Chevening supports its global network of alumni is that they offer some financing to the alumni-led projects through the program called CAPF, which stands for Chevening Alumni Program Fund, where they can apply for bidding. So it's a selection process. So, and you can imagine other alumni from the globe, across the world, also apply, and in case successful, it's a competition exclusively for Chevening Alumni Network. And if they're successful, they can have their projects or programs or some initiatives funded fully or partially through this funding opportunity with Chevening.
Which is very nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're talking about the alumni and how they're supposed to, give something back to their own communities. Can you give some examples of maybe projects or actual alumni who made significant difference in their home communities upon returning?
So we have great examples of successful cases of our alumni going to the top of their career, bringing some great significant changes in their professions, maybe filling some skill gap in their sector and fields. So I have many to count, actually, to give one concrete example, but we have alumni working in different sectors, whether it's in governance, education, IT, digital reforms, whether it's private or public. And as I mentioned, we always try to keep in touch with them and support their activities.
Now let's go back to the application process. And you know that Chevening applicants have to ask for a reference, correct? Sort of a recommendation letter. Can you tell me who should they ask for?
Yes, they need to indicate to contact people on their application who are willing to provide reference on their behalf. And so I usually tell them to indicate their former or current employers, some senior management, supervisors that they've worked with that really saw their career progress and integrity, and they can really act as good referees for them. But if someone is a recent graduate, it's okay for them to submit one reference from their academic contacts, whether it's professors or heads of their universities.
And what's the maximum number of references that applicants can submit?
We only ask for 2.
Okay, let's move on to, I guess, the selection criteria. And I'm going to ask a very cliche question. What an ideal candidate's profile looks like?
So ideal Chevening applicant or candidates is someone who is in their mid-careers. They've gone through academia, so to say, through the bachelor's degree process. They've gained vast amount of work experience, and we require at least 2 years, which equals 2,800 hours. And it can come from part-time, full-time jobs, paid, unpaid internships, or volunteering activities. And also they are someone who are passionate to take their own careers and the lives of their communities to the next level, and they need this. It's perfect moment for them to apply for the master's degree to really make that difference.
I see. And how do you assess the applications?
So we have our own internal guidelines to assess applications, but once the applications are closed, we as embassy do not assess them. It goes straight to London. There's a special committee of professionals, professors with a background of relevant experience that they first take a look at each application, and it's a first filtration process, so to say, and they send us a long list of applications, and we at the embassy take a look at the applications to select who comes for the interview stage. And usually one application is assessed by at least 2 people from the relevant sphere and backgrounds.
Can you tell me, is there an option of, deferring the scholarship if some unforeseen circumstances arise?
Actually, unfortunately, no. Chevening doesn't offer a deferral. If they cannot take up their scholarship offer, it's gone and they'll have to reapply again, and their seat is not reserved. The only exception I've seen during my experience is that when our female applicant and selected scholar, she became pregnant, and because of this health issues, she asked for deferral, and she was granted deferral for the next year.
Okay, and if the scholarship expires, if there is no deferral, does it go to someone else, or is it just expired and no one gets it?
So in terms of in case the person who deferred it doesn't.
Yeah, so you offer the scholarship to someone, they say, well, I can't do that. They reject the scholarship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, does it go to someone else, or?
Yes. So that's exactly why we have 3 types of status for the applicants that we give them. So first status is conditionally selected applicants, which means upon the provision of the unconditional offer from at least one university, they are guaranteed the spots and they will be taking up the offer. And second status that they can receive as a response to their application is reserved candidates. So in case of some of the people in the conditionally selected list does not follow or cannot provide unconditional offer, or for some other reason cannot take up scholarships, Chevening Secretariat may decide to grant it, to upgrade the reserved candidates so that they take up their spots. But again, it doesn't happen every year. It really depends on the budgets, and some of the countries may or may not get it every year. And the third response they get is rejected, which is full rejection. There is no opportunity to be upgraded.
Okay, so that's the offers that they receive after the interviews.
After the interviews, yes, it's a final selection process, so it's a final response on their entire application journey.
And when does that usually happen?
That happens before end of June, so starting from 15th until 30th of June, that's usually when they start receiving their responses.
Okay.
So you see, it's quite a long process. So from the time they apply to the Chevening scholarships and by the time they receive their response, it's a 8 to 10 months process. So someone needs to be really patient with and know the expectations.
Can you tell me, do Chevening applicants, successful applicants, get visa support, or are they guaranteed to receive their visa?
Well, no one is guaranteed to receive their visa, and they are still responsible for the proper application process of their individual visas. However, Chevening scholars are exempt from any visa associated fees. They also don't pay immigration health surcharge, similar to insurance fee. They're also free, exempt from that. So Chevening takes care of the visa-related expenses, but it sits with UK Visas and Immigration Office to make decisions on their visa applications.
You know, I think my next question is very on the spot because with the rise of generative AI, everyone is using artificial intelligence in their applications and their studies. So can you tell me, is using artificial intelligence in the Chevening application allowed? If yes, then what's the responsible way of doing it? If no, then why not?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a very timely question. Short answer is no. Applicants should write their own authentic essays, and we do not accept AI-generated responses to their essays. Firstly, because it becomes quite apparent if they've used artificial intelligence. It's really easy to tell. And secondly, even if they used outside source to help writing their essays, and in case they're successful, really at the interview stage, as I mentioned, it becomes quite apparent if they are actually the person they describe themselves to be on their essays. So we warn them against using artificial intelligence. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't proofread and double check their essays. They can show it to their friends, to their professors, or someone they trust with to take a look, you know, to give their feedback and assessment of their essays, whether it needs improvement. So of course, polished and high quality essays are always welcome.
I see. Yeah, I guess that leads to my final two questions. Can you tell me what advice do you have for potential Chevening applicants?
Yes, so if they missed this application window for this year, there's no need to be discouraged. I tell them to start researching universities as their number one task because it may really take time. And by the time the next application cycle opens, I want them to have clear selection of 3 university courses that they want to apply, that they want to list on their application. So that really saves time. And secondly, being proactive, reaching out to alumni, reaching out to current scholars who are in the UK. There are many communities and groups on social media platforms such as Facebook where they can join and just look at the conversation that's happening, you know, ask questions, and most of the alumni are quite friendly and very eager to help and offer their advice. And of course, I tell them if they lack some of the skills, whether it's leadership examples or English skills, really start working on them. It's a rigorous 1-year, very intensive education program, and they need to be able to have a really good proficient English command. Even though we as Chevening, we do not require IELTS exam tests or TOEFL or other English proficiency exam tests.
But universities might require.
Exactly, that's university that will require them to provide. So they need to have good level of English. And if they think they lack a certain leadership or influencing examples, it's prime time for them to start building that portfolio of a leader. If you see some gap in your fields, go try to address that. Think about the brainstorm, offer creative solutions, make the life for your colleagues easier, improve some ways that your sector operates, or give back to your community. There are so many ways to really show leadership, and if they are waiting for the next application cycle, it's the best time to start building that portfolio now. So I guess that's my advice for them.
Yeah. Also, be patient because it takes a lot of time to
Exactly.
get the response. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And my final question is, what tips can you give to someone who applied to Chevening but was unsuccessful and they want to reapply?
Actually, we have many cases of applicants who keep applying from year to year, and eventually some of them become successful and get selected for the program. It's nothing to be discouraged about. That happens, and many scholars that we feature on our social media channels openly share about their experiences of reapplying the next year. So I would tell them to really use this 1 year to their own benefits. If they lack some, skills or examples, as I already mentioned, start building them up. Use your time wisely, and come back next year with a much stronger and more appealing application.
Okay, so just improving and then applying again is okay. That happens.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. Well, I guess that's it. Did I cover everything?
I guess you did, yes.
Yeah.